So, we finally reached the end of Phase 1 with Marvel's The Avengers. This was released in 2012, directed by Joss Whedon, starring Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Tony Stark, Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, Captain America, Tom Hiddleston as the villain, Loki. Before I go any further, those three were probably the best actors in this movie for me personally. I can't get enough of those three as who they portray. I love everyone in the MCU and who they portray for the most part. But those three, their acting and Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans' chemistry in this movie is awesome. Like they're just so very different people, and I love it. But yeah, it's also starring Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk now. Edward Norton, I don't really know what happened there, but Mark Ruffalo took over as the Hulk for this and every movie he shows up in afterwards. I'm not sure what happened with Edward Norton, but either way, Edward Norton was a better Bruce Banner, but Mark Ruffalo is a better Hulk. Chris Hemsworth comes back as Thor. Samuel Jackson comes back as Nick Fury. Scarlett Johansson is Natasha Romanoff in Black Widow. She's back from Iron Man 2. Jeremy Renner's back with an actual role, not just kind of a cameo. He plays Clint Barton in Hawkeye. But yeah, the cast of this movie, there's so many more other talented actors that I could list off in this movie, but the review is going to be long enough as it is. So the runtime for the movie is about 2 hours, 23 minutes, 143 minutes. Yeah, I'll jump into the summary for this. I only made it about one paragraph because I'm trying to not spoil anything up until my spoiler part of the review. But yeah, here's the summary of the movie. The Avengers is the conclusion to the build-up of the past 4 years, 5 films in Marvel Studios. Assembling for the first time ever on the big screen, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Thor, Captain America, and many others to fight off Earth's biggest threat yet, Loki and his alien army of Chitauri invaders. Now, the cinematography for this movie, there's zero pacing issues in this movie for me personally. The special effects are the best they've been yet thus far in the MCU. Like, so good, especially compared to Thor. Like, just phenomenal. The acting is great and very memorable, especially, like I said, by Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. They have great character development and chemistry. And the development of the characters is so much better in this movie, having watched all the other movies leading into it. When I went to see this in theaters when I was younger, I hadn't seen Thor and maybe Captain America. And now, after watching them and reviewing them and watching this, I have so much more love for all the small things in this movie. It really is an awesome movie and an awesome end point for what they were starting, and to see where they've gone now from just this is just phenomenal. But yeah, the soundtrack might just be the best out of all the Phase 1 films so far. Well, this is the end of Phase 1, so it is the best soundtrack from Phase 1. It's original and just so epic. Like the dun 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 dun. I can't get enough of it. I crave it. And it's what we needed compared to like the last couple films that there's no soundtrack that's memorable. So aside from a couple minor details, this movie is near perfect for me. A kid growing up into superheroes, I was so excited going into this in the theaters, and I still remember the excitement. Like, I don't think I'll ever be as excited going into a movie as I was the first Avengers movie. Infinity War might top it, but I was so excited for this film when it was released back in 2012, you don't even know. I feel guilty giving this a 10 out of 10, so I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10 just because there are a couple minor things in it that don't ruin the movie and they don't take you out like Captain America or Thor, but it just, like I said, I'd feel guilty giving it a 10 out of 10. So this is a 9.5 out of 10, and it's number 1 on my Marvel movies thus far at the end of Phase 1. Yeah, thumbs up. And I wanted to say before I get into the spoilers that my very first Funko, which is up there somewhere, I'll show you at the end of the video, but I got my very first Funko Pop whenever I purchased the 3D Avengers Blu-ray special edition, I guess. I got it from Future Shop when it was still open. But yeah, that's what ultimately started me on my Funko collection. But yeah, I'm gonna dive into spoilers now. So if you haven't seen the film, leave now, because I note every little thing I like and didn't like about the movie. I know that's might be ridiculous to some of you, but I like doing it. So yeah, basically the movie starts off. The Chitauri found Loki after the events of Thor. Like, when Thor ended, Loki just kind of fell off into space, and I guess the Chitauri found him. And they chose him as the leader for the Tesseract. And it makes you wonder. I'll get into it again later, but the Red Skull just kind of vanished in space. Did someone find him? I know there's rumors on the internet saying Thanos is him, but I mean, whatever. Then after that, it leads in and we get a little bit of the Avengers riff when they're at the SHIELD base. And I had to note it because every time you hear that riff, you get amped up. But yeah, then it shows Fury, Coulson, Selvig, and Barton, like, all these characters brought together for the first time. And like, when I watched this the first time, I didn't really know Selvig or Barton that much. Like, I had only really seen the Iron Man movies, I believe, and the Hulk, the Iron Man movies and the Hulk. So yeah, I was unsure on some of these people, but watching it now and after reviewing the other ones, I have so much more respect for this movie. And Kevin Feige, like, it's awesome how we put all this together. But yeah, Loki winds up coming through a portal created from the Tesseract, and then that leads to my theory: could Schmidt, Red Skull, still be alive? And did the Chitauri find him? Is he Thanos? Like, I don't really think he's Thanos, but some people do. Yeah, it just makes you wonder. Because I love the Red Skull. If you see my Captain America review, you know I love the Red Skull. But yeah, Loki winds up kicking ass, like all the agents in the SHIELD plays. He mind controls Hawkeye, Selvig, and a couple agents. But before he does that, he's like saying who he is: Loki of Asgard. And Selvig's like, Thor's brother, like, because he does know him because he was from the Thor movie. So it just, like I said again, Kevin Feige's a genius, especially back then. Like, now it's just flowing so naturally. But the SHIELD's base starts collapsing into the earth, like creating this big crater from the portal being opened. And during this scene, there's a pretty cool car chase where they're chasing Loki out of the building and stuff. But during this car chase, the Agent Hill shoots through the windshield, so there's like a crack in the windshield, and then she whips her car around and then starts driving again. And when it goes back to her, the windshield's just perfect. And that's one of the small things in the movie that bother me. And like I said, it is a very minor detail that only someone like me might notice. Like, your average movie viewer might not see that. But yeah, I'm picky. But then Fury's like, as of right now, we're at war. And then Coulson or Hill's like, what do we do? And then it just fades to black and the Avengers pops up. And then I'm pretty sure we get that riff again. After the Avengers logo and the riff, it goes to Black Widow tied up to a chair. And I think it's Russians or something are interrogating her. And she gets a phone call, and then she gets the information from them that she needs while she's tied up. It's kind of cool. But then she starts kicking all their asses while tied up in a chair, and it's awesome. Some of the moves look a little foolish, but comic book movies, so. But then after that, it leads to Bruce Banner's intro. He's in a foreign country. I didn't note the country down, so that's my bad. But he's helping all the poor sick people, like, try and get better, because it's just showing that he really is a true hero at heart, even though he does turn into a big green raging monster. But yeah, Black Widow winds up showing up, trying to convince Bruce to go to SHIELD, because basically Fury needs him and his knowledge of gamma radiation to try and track the Tesseract, because the Tesseract gives off gamma radiation. So he's the one person in the world that knows gamma radiation the best, so that's why they want him. They don't want the Hulk, so they say. But during the scene, I forget what's said, but Bruce gets mad, and he gets real mad, and then Black Widow tells the men to stand down, and there's like 20 soldiers outside his house just aiming guns at him. I really like that scene. I don't know why, just small things. And as you know, I'm a sucker for the Hulk. I love the Hulk. He's my boy. But yeah, then it goes to the Captain America intro, which is actually the post-credit scene from Captain America: The First Avenger when he's punching the punching bag. Basically, he just destroys the hell out of a punching bag. And then he's like to Nick Fury, "You trying to get me back into the world?" And Nick Fury's like, "Trying to save it." But the scene has a little bit more in the movie versus the post-credit scene, obviously. Then it leads to the Iron Man intro, which he's underwater rigging up a renewable power source for Stark Tower. But then it goes to him like flying in his helmet, and it just, from Iron Man to Iron Man 2 to this, it looks so sexy inside the helmet and all the electronics and everything going and him flying. And then he lands on his, like, at the Stark Tower or whatever, and then his suit starts dismantling itself basically, and it looks so sexy. I love it. I can't get enough of it. But then Pepper's like says something about Phil being here, and then he's like, Phil, and he's like, his first name is Agent, because Agent Coulson. It's just funny. I don't know, I liked it. I had to note it down. But Coulson's there about the Avengers initiative, which was brought up at, I believe it was Iron Man 2. But Tony's like, I thought I didn't qualify, and then lists off why from Iron Man 2's post-credit scene, like he's self-destructive and all that stuff. I had to note it down because I love how they tied all this stuff in together, and like I said, I can't stress enough. Back then, like, this was hard to do. Now it comes so naturally, right? But yeah, Dr. Banner was trying to replicate Captain America's super soldier serum with gamma radiation, and that's why he becomes the Hulk. I believe I might have mentioned that in the Incredible Hulk, but I noted it down here again just cause, I guess. Done my first page of spoilers, now on to my second. I got 3 pages. But yeah, then I don't know what it was, but Coulson and Steve were talking, and Coulson says something, and Steve just kind of looks at him. But it was like a joke that you would have got if you were alive this day and age, and where he's from, like the 40s and 30s and whatnot. It makes for some good comical scenes and puns that Captain just doesn't understand, and I love that. Like when Thor landed on Earth in Thor, like just someone that doesn't fit in trying to fit into our society is just I love it. I can't get enough of it. But then it goes, Captain America's on the helicarrier, and he's like looking down the water, and then it starts like making some movements, and he's like, is this a submarine? And Bruce Banner's like, really? They want me in a pressurized metal container. And then it starts like taking off out of the water, and then Bruce is like, no, this is much worse. I love it. I love the Hulk. Can't get enough of him. Bruce Banner, it's awesome. But Captain America winds up, right after that, he pays Nick Fury $10 or $20. And basically, earlier on, Nick Fury said, like, I bet you're going to see some stuff you've never seen. And he's like, like, I don't think so. And then the helicarrier starts flying, and then he's like, yeah, okay, you won the bet, and gave him the money. I had to make a note of it. So shortly after the helicarrier takes off, Loki gets found really easy. He wants to be found, obviously. But Loki scans this guy's eye. He needs the guy's retina for whatever, and he scans it with this thing, but it literally looks like it's digging this guy's eye out, man. It looks so brutal, and he's just there cheesing, loving it. Like, he is such a demonic little shit. I love Loki. You know, it's hard for me. I have a list of my favorite bad guys and favorite movies, like, as I'm reviewing them, and I'm really stuck on if I want Loki or Red Skull as my favorite bad guy after this movie. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, then it goes, after that, Captain America shows up with Loki. He's like, last time I seen a man standing above everyone else, we didn't agree, or however the quote goes. And then Loki's just like, there are no men like me. And it's just, I like how cocky Loki is. Cap gets in a scrap with Loki. He holds his own fairly well, but he is definitely getting his arse kicked. Iron Man shows up. Like, actually, Iron Man doesn't even show up yet. All you hear is Shoot to Thrill come over the agent's little plane floating in Romanoff's plane. And yeah, Shoot to Thrill's blaring by AC/DC, and then Iron Man just flies out of nowhere. And yeah, I had to make note of that because Iron Man and AC/DC go together like peanut butter and jelly. Um, and he acknowledges Romanoff when he flies in from Iron Man 2. He says, I forget what he says. I didn't write down what he says, but yeah, I love it. Can't get enough of it. But they wind up catching Loki, and they're taking him on a plane. Then it starts like lightning out, and Loki's just looking around, like kind of timid. And I forget if it's Captain or Iron Man, but they're like scared of a little lightning. And then he's like, not overly fond of what comes next, or not overly fond of what follows. He says, and then Thor lands on the roof of the plane with a big crack of thunder, and he goes in the plane, grabs Loki, throws him out, and then they have a bro chat, I'll call it. Thor thought he was dead and wants him home, and Loki wants to take over Earth, basically. Captain jumps out of the plane, and I think Romanoff's like, you should probably sit this one out. They're gods. And then Captain's like, there's only one god, and he doesn't dress like that, and he jumps out. I love that. I couldn't get enough of that. But yeah, Thor and Loki are talking, and then Iron Man comes out of nowhere and takes Thor out. They get in a little tussle, and Iron Man's like, does Mother know you weareth her drapes? And Thor shocks Iron Man with his hammer, and then his suit goes to 400% capacity, and he's like, oh, and then shoots Thor and sends him flying. Like, this sequence is probably one of my favorite sequences in the movie. But after that, Captain shows up, and he's like, put the hammer down. And then Thor's like, you want me to put the hammer down? And he jumps up and smashes the shield, and it's just, I love it. I couldn't get enough of it. But yeah, they get Loki on the helicarrier, and as he's being taken to his cell, he walks by Bruce and smiles, almost like he's up to something, right? They don't know what. And they put him in this big cage, and he's like, this is quite the cage. He's like, not built, though, I think, for me. It's obviously made for Hulk, and they explain that. But then they start going on to Thor, like, he's your brother. And then Thor's like, he's adopted. It's simple, funny things. Not over the top, like now in the MCU, just simple little things. But Tony's talking to Bruce, and he's like, I'm a huge fan of how you turn green into a raging monster. And I love the chemistry between Bruce Banner and Tony Stark in this movie. They're like, I don't even know how. They're almost like roommates, like two really smart. They're the smartest guys in the room, and they're just clicking, and I like it. I don't know. Bruce mentions New York incident from the Incredible Hulk. He like destroys Harlem when he's fighting Abomination. But Tony pokes him something with something really pointy, and he's like, "Ow, what the hell?" And then Tony's like looking at him, like Tony wants him to turn to the Hulk. Tony can't get enough of it. But Captain America walks in the room as he pokes him, and he's like, "Are you insane?" But this Tony and Bruce then bring up that they think Fury is up to something, and then Tony starts hacking the shield helicarrier, and it causes for some major friction between Steve and Tony off the get-go, and I really like that, especially knowing that we're going to get Civil War come Phase 3. Like, it's just, they're already setting it up, and it's awesome. But Tony and Bruce are talking about how Bruce should have been killed by that gamma radiation, and Bruce is like, so you think the other guy saved my life? So it's almost like, did the gamma radiation create the Hulk, or was the Hulk always there but just laying dormant? It's I'm kind of curious. I don't know. Like, I have some Hulk graphic novels and stuff, but like I do have the original, but I haven't read through it all. I'm gonna have to read through it all so I know everything about the Hulk. I love the Hulk. I can't get enough of him. But yes, Coulson got Jane to safety, tells Thor, and it's cool to see how they're, even though she's not in the movie, they're still acknowledging her and making the universe feel so connected. It's just awesome. I love it. But then it goes to Black Widow talking to Loki, and then she's like, he's saying some stuff to get into her head, and she's like, you're a monster. And then he's like, oh no, you've brought the monster. And then Black Widow's like, I found his plays after Hulk or whatever, or Banner. So she basically figures out why he's got captured. He wants the Hulk to Hulk out. He wants him to wreck shit up, I guess. Tony discovers S.H.I.E.L.D. is basically creating weapons from the power of the Tesseract after he hacks the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier. And basically, this is Schmidt's idea from the first Avenger, the Red Skull. He was going to make, well, he was making weapons out of the Tesseract. So it's just, again, it's cool to see them all flowing and intertwined, and they all have some sort of continuity. It's awesome. But, all the Avengers start arguing, and like the Scepter's in the room, so I'm curious if maybe the Scepter made them argue, you know what I mean? Like maybe they wouldn't have argued and fought like that if the Scepter wasn't in the room. But yeah, I like that scene of all the Avengers just standing there arguing. It's like you're not even assembled yet and you're falling apart. It's just cool. But then it goes to Hawkeye, who is mind controlled, and he's like on a plane or something, and he fires a shot against the wind, and it kind of goes with the wind, and it's an awesome shot. I made note of it. It winds up blowing up and taking out one of the propellers in the helicarrier. But yeah, Hawkeye's a beast. I love Hawkeye in this. But then Bruce is talking about how he attempted suicide. He took a gun and he shot himself, and then the other guy spit the bullet back out. I love the Hulk. Yeah, I had to note it. Cap keeps telling Tony to put his suit on so they can scrap. Like, Cap's determined to beat up Tony, and Tony's like, it's not that Tony doesn't want to fight, but he's just kind of brushing it off. And then the explosion from Hawkeye's arrow goes off, and then Cap's like, put on the suit, and Tony's like, yeah. But it's funny because he keeps telling him to put on the suit so they can fight, and Tony's like, whatever. And then it blows up. He's like, put on the suit, and Tony's like, yeah, I'm on her. I love it. Then after the explosion, Romanoff is like stuck, I want to say like a floor or two under where they just were. And Banner fell down with her, and he starts hulking out. And I love that scene. It's actually kind of creepy in a way. Like, I remember seeing this in theaters, man, and when she's running through that hall and the Hulk's just chasing after her, breaking all that stuff, man, like, I remember being in the theaters like, oh my god, run. Like, I can't get enough of it. Yeah, this leads to Thor and Hulk getting in their first scrap, and they're fighting throughout the helicarrier, and there's a part where Thor throws the hammer, I think, at Hulk, and it misses, and Hulk like grabs it, but then it like pulls Hulk back, and then Hulk's there, and he's trying to like lift it out of the ground, and his feet are sinking into the friggin' helicarrier. It's awesome. I love Thor and Hulk together. They're so perfect together. But yeah, they're basically, Nick Fury's like, Hulk's gonna destroy the helicarrier. Like, we need to get him out of here. We need to distract him. So they send a jet after him, and they start shooting him through the helicarrier window, and then the Hulk's just like, bleh. This is probably my favorite scene in the movie. He just jumps out of the helicarrier and lands on the jet and starts hitting it and rips the top open, grabs the guy, throws him out, and the jet blows up. He goes flying. That's kind of it for the Hulk for a little bit, but I love that scene. Then it goes to Hawkeye shooting an arrow into the helicarrier. And it's like this little USB stick thing that like overrides everything. And it's like, it's just kind of stupid. But I mean, comic book movie, so you look past a USB arrow. At this point, a USB arrow is believable. There's a friggin' helicarrier in the sky, like, whatever. But I did have to make note of it. Loki tricks Thor into going into that big cage he was in, that basically Hulk, it was designed for Hulk. He's standing there, and Thor runs at him, and then he disappears because he does his disappearing act. And Loki says something like, "Are you ever not going to fall for that?" And it's awesome because he's done that to him in the Thor movie, and I believe it might even happen in Thor: The Dark World. And yeah, it gets to the point in the MCU where anytime Loki's around, Thor's like, "Is that even you?" Like, so Thor does catch on, but it's cool to see that progress. Coulson has a gun in this movie that's designed from and after. In the Thor movie, the Destroyer comes, and he's in the movie for about 5 minutes, and Thor kills him. But basically, Coulson and Shield made a gun out of the destroyer, and part of it actually even looks like the metal and everything from the destroyer, which it looks awesome. I love that. I never noticed that part in the movie until this time around, watching reviewing Thor and then going into this. I love it. Kevin Feige's a genius. Black Widow winds up smacking Hawkeye's head off a metal bar, and that kind of clicks him back into who he is, I guess. Just a hard enough head made him not mind controlled, or a hard enough hit on the head made him not mind controlled. This made me, like, seeing them talk, though, it made me want to see Hawkeye and Black Widow film, because she says something like, this reminds me of Budapest or something, and then he's like, you and I remember Budapest very differently, and I want to see the movie on that. I love those two characters. We haven't seen enough of them in the MCU. Even where we are now, I feel like I haven't seen enough of those two. But, yeah, Thor's falling, and I call it the hamster ball. It's that cage that's designed for Hulk that Loki tricked him into. But he's falling and falling and falling. He's trying to get out, but he can't because he's falling. He can't hit the same spot. So he gets himself positioned right at one side and then just jumps up with the hammer out of it as it hits the ground. It's a cool scene. I had to make note of it. But after that, it goes to this. It's the quote. This is the Avengers quote to me personally. Nick Fury's like, there was an idea. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people to see if they could become something more. See if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles that we never could. I love that quote. That is probably my favorite quote in a superhero film. I love it. And they're using it now in the Infinity War trailers. Like, I love that. But then it kind of goes to a kind of comedic scene. Nothing crazy, but like, it goes to a bunch of rubble, and Bruce Banner like getting out of the rubble because last we seen he went flying from the jet, and this old guy is like, "Are you an alien?" And Bruce is like, "No," and then he's like, "Well then, son, you may have a condition." It's just funny. The old guy seen him butt naked drop down to the ground. He's seen him naked as the Hulk and human. It's funny. Son, you may have a condition. Yeah, he might, but it goes to later on, Iron Man's talking to Loki in Stark Towers because Loki's going to Stark Tower to open the portal. But they're talking. Iron Man's like, yeah, we put together a team, Earth's mightiest heroes type of thing. And then Loki's like, I have an army. And then Iron Man, Tony Stark's just like, we have a Hulk. That was always, to this day, that's probably one of my favorite just little one-liners I've seen in the MCU. Like, when I seen that in theaters, oh man, I couldn't get enough of this movie when I seen it in theaters. Yeah, the Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Now, Loki walks up to him and like hits him with the scepter on his chest plate, but nothing happens. And I'm just kind of curious why. Like, I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't get why, because he has that in his chest, he can't be mind controlled. It doesn't make sense. Unless he's making the Soul Stone there, which, I mean, whatever. I don't think so, but I mean, whatever. But Loki winds up throwing Tony out of the building, and Tony's falling, and then he gets his suit to go after him, and he starts suiting up while he's falling, and he just stops before he hits the ground. This scene is, again, one of those scenes where it's awesome, but it's really silly. But you kind of overlook the silliness because, again, it's a comic book movie. So, but yeah, then like the Chitauri are invading Earth, coming through, destroying New York, and then Cap says all these orders to a couple cops, and the cops are like, "We don't take orders from you." And then these aliens show up, and then Cap kicks all the aliens' asses, and then the cops don't even acknowledge him. They just start shouting out the instructions Cap gave to his fellow cops, and it's cool. Like, the cop didn't want to do what he said, and then he's seen how strong and powerful he actually is, and he's like, all right, let's do what the man says. He knows what he's doing. I didn't know why or how, but I noted that I just put Hawkeye kicking ass. But yeah, I can't get enough of Hawkeye kicking ass in this movie. Just him shooting shit with those arrows are awesome. That Iron Man even makes a Legolas pun at one point about Lord of the Rings, and yeah, I love that. But the Avengers are about to finally assemble, right? And basically, they're all there on the street talking, except Iron Man, I think. They're all on the street, but Iron Man's flying with a big alien chasing him. And Captain's like, hey, Banner, now might be a good time to get angry. And then Bruce is like, I'm taking the party to you. And the big aliens come in. Black Widow's like, I don't see how that's a party. But yeah, basically, he's like, that's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry. And then he looks at the alien and throws a punch. And as he's throwing the punch, he turns into the Hulk. And like that might be my favorite scene in the whole movie, to be honest. But the Avengers finally assemble and they're all standing around this little circle and the Avengers theme's going. So sexy, man. Like, words cannot express the amount of awesomeness in this scene. If you're a comic book geek like I am, if you love all that shit like I do, you would love that scene. And when I seen that in theaters for the first time, like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about the first time I seen this scene in theaters. But yeah, I did note too that Captain America actually feels like he's starting to feel like a captain in this film. Like, in the Captain America movie, he just kind of had that name thrown on him. He didn't really feel like he deserved it. In this movie, I think he accomplished the fact that he is a captain. Like, he is Captain America. But he's telling everyone what they should do, and he's like, and Hulk, you smash. And Hulk's just like, jumps up, starts kicking ass again. I'm a sucker for the Hulk. So, but there's a part where Cap and Black Widow are talking, and then like Black Widow runs and Cap grabs a shield and like shoots her. She jumps on the shield and he throws her up right high, and she lands on a Shatari vehicle. And I had to make note of it because I thought the boost was awesome. Iron Man comes down. Him and Captain America are kicking some Shatari asses, and then Iron Man shoots some lasers out of his gauntlets. And basically, the lasers go. Captain uses his shield and basically aims the lasers at other Shataris, and it's just, that scene is so awesome. I love when the heroes do stuff like that together. It's awesome because it's stuff we literally haven't seen before, right? But then it goes to Thor and Hulk both kicking a bunch of Shatari asses. Like, they're on the back of one of the giant monsters. They're kicking the small guys off. I think Hulk rips something off and sticks it in the monster, and then Thor hits it with the hammer and they take the monster out. But it crashes into a building, and Thor and Hulk are just standing there afterwards, and then Hulk just doesn't even look at him and just punches him and sends him flying. To this day, the audience, when that happened in that movie, the audience roared, man. I will never forget the audience roaring at that scene in this movie. Another one of my favorite scenes. I even have a star next to that. Hawkeye basically aims an arrow and shoots it, and it's going through the sky, and then Loki looks at it and catches it right before it hits his head. And it's like, oh shit, you're not going to kill Loki. But it's a bomb, it blows up, and it sends Loki into the Stark Tower. And then that's when Hulk's like, this is my chance. And he basically jumps through the building, and then Loki says something to him. And then he just grabs Loki and smashes him all over the place. And then walks away, and he's like, puny god. And it's like, I think, no, I made a note down here. I'll get into that about the Hulk. A building's falling down, Hawkeye's falling off, and he jumps off and shoots an arrow with a rope, and it's cool. Had to make note of it. Hawkeye has some cool moves with those arrows. Basically, the government is sending a nuke to New York to blow up the alien invasion, and everyone's like, there's still people there, like, don't nuke it. And the government's like, we gotta stop this, like, right now. And basically, the jets are leaving, I believe, the helicarrier. I believe it's on the helicarrier. The jets are going to leave, and Fury takes a rocket launcher, takes one of the jets out, and then the other jet goes and, yeah, basically shoots the nuke at New York. While the nuke's on the way to New York, they're still fighting on the streets, and there's this scene where Thor hits a car with his hammer, and the car just goes and crushes a bunch of Shatari. I love that scene. Basically, the missile's going to New York, and Tony flies up and grabs it and kind of, he redirects the missile, but he's like holding on to it. Kind of, I call it the Toy Story move, because it's kind of like, when Buzz Lightyear was on the rocket, but it's nothing like that, but it is, like, it's weird. But yeah, basically, he redirects the missile up through the portal. He goes with it and then aims it at the Shatari mothership that's coming towards the portal. And yeah, he blows that up, and then he falls down and just makes it through the portal. And he's falling and falling and falling, and Thor's like with his hammer about to jump up and catch him. And as he's about to jump up and catch him, Hulk out of nowhere jumps and grabs him and lands and lets him go, and he's lying there. And basically, you think Tony Stark's dead, like you think he didn't make it, and then the Hulk's just like, and then Tony's like, he opens his eyes and wakes up, and he's like, what the hell? I think he says something like, please tell me no one kissed me. It's just funny. I love it. But this part, before I continue, how Hulk catches Iron Man, is this proving that Hulk is not a raging monster and he actually is, like, just not necessarily Bruce, but like another being in Bruce? Because, like, Incredible Hulk, I got the vibe that, like, the Hulk wasn't a raging monster like everyone says he is. He wasn't. He is his own person. He is a raging monster when he's mad, but it's just, I don't know, like, I feel like he's not just a raging monster. I feel like there's more there, and I want to see it touched on more. Maybe we'll get that in Infinity War. But yeah, then it goes to this shot, which is an awesome shot. It's basically Loki's still in the ground, and he opens his eyes, and all the Avengers are there. Hawkeye's there with his arrow, Hulk's there, and like all the Avengers are there just looking at him, and I love that scene. But then it goes to like interviews on TV and stuff, and it's like, superheroes in New York, give me a break, and it's Stan Lee. I completely forgot about the Stan Lee cameo, and then that happened. I was like, oh shit, yeah, because it's right at the end of the movie, right? But the movie ends with Thor taking both the Tesseract and Loki back to Asgard, and then it goes to a shot of the Stark Tower, but all the, like, Stark is just destroyed, and the only thing left is the A from Stark, and it looks cool for Avengers, obviously. But then we get a pre-credit scene of a Shatari alien talking to we don't know who, and then it goes and it's Thanos, and he smiles, and then that's the pre-credit scene. Credits roll. There's a post-credit scene of all the Avengers just sitting in a restaurant just mowing. They're not talking. Some of them are just sitting there looking tired as hell. Some of them are eating. Some of them just sitting there. But yeah, nothing crazy. Nothing setting up anything huge aside from that pre-credit scene. But yeah, overall I rate this movie a 9.5 out of 10. That I give it a thumbs up. I absolutely love this film. But again, I would feel guilty giving this a 10 out of 10 just because there are a few minor details that I noticed that just, they don't ruin the movie, they just take you out of certain scenes. There was one I forgot to mention, Thor and Iron Man, when they first fight, like, does Mother know you wear with her drapes? There's a scene where I think Thor catches Iron Man's fist and it just looks CGI to all hell, but like, it's not as bad as the Thor movie. So again, I'd feel guilty giving this a 10 out of 10 because I absolutely love this movie. 9.5 out of 10, 2 thumbs up. Let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comments below. And Iron Man 3 is next, and that is the only MCU movie I haven't seen from beginning to end. So this is going to be a brand new watch for me. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of phase 1 of the MCU, and I'll be getting started on phase 2 here in the next couple days, I'm sure. Take her easy, guys. Have a good one.